Yes.
Recording in progress for our meeting of Monday, 31st of May. So we were starting to kind of round off and start talking about the history of, or the development of methodology as regards the teaching of English as a foreign language. And I wanted to make a distinction, to remind you of this distinction of English as a foreign language and English as a second language. What's the difference? Do you remember? Mika is nodding. So Mika, can you explain to us? Come on. What's the difference between teaching English as a foreign language and teaching English as a second language? If not Mika, any other? Come on.
Hello, Anna.
Noelia?
Hello?
Yeah, hello. Come on, Noelia.
Yes. When you are teaching English as a foreign language, you are teaching in a country, in a society, where the language is outside. It's not in contact with the people all the time. Yes, it's foreign because I didn't want to say the word. When it is as a second language, the people already know the language in some way. It is not the main one, but they use it. For example, in Japan, they have English as a second language.
Okay.
They can see it in the
Canada.
streets.
Yes, in Canada, right? I mean, English, we can say that, for example, Spanish, in United States, Spanish is a second language, right? Because there are some aspects of society that are carried out in Spanish, right? Or,
Yes.
or Spanish speakers living in United States using English as a second language, not as a foreign language. Here in Argentina, we teach English as a foreign language. All right? Is that clear? Yes? Good.
Yes.
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 So, yes, who else wants to participate and say something? Somebody else wanted to make a comment? No? All right, so we kind of saw the development, right, of methodology, right? What happened? I mean, everything kind of started with the grammar translation method, right? I mean, the idea of learning a language by translating word per word, right? Because that was a kind of influence from the way people learned Latin, okay? Because Latin was a written language, right? So they kind of learned that way, and so they thought that English was also thought to be learned in that way. And so after that, right, lots of methods and approaches and techniques appeared in this development, in this idea of teaching, how to teach English. Now, what is important is to remember that the methodology that we adopt when we teach English is linked, articulated, interrelated, goes hand in hand with our belief of what language is. So we need to be very careful with that, because we need to not separate, but have in mind very clearly what we think about language. What is language? What idea of language do we have? And then according to that idea is the way that we are going to teach. If we think that language is the sum of subject, verb, predicate, and the sum of nouns, verbs, and adjectives, and we think in that way, paying attention to the form of the language, well, that's a traditional view of language. That has to do with a structural view of language. But this is a view of language, more with linguistics. So we pay attention to form, and we teach form. That means prepositions, phrasal verbs, tenses, and all that. But if we believe that language is a way of making meaning, of communicating, of helping ourselves be with other people in society, and so it has a social cultural base, then we hold a functional view of language. What does it mean? That the most important thing is meaning. And so we are going to help our students to create meaning, not to remember that the third person singular of the verb go is goes, but to remember how that form creates meaning, to create discourse. Okay, so this is very important, people. All right, all this has to do with the methods and approaches. This is what you did, right? A kind of refresher week about and revision of what you've studied last year. Is there any question about this? No? So then there comes this new material that has to do with shifting paradigms in language teaching. And this is a question. Is there really a shift of paradigms in the way we teach? Right? So this is for us to think. And the task here at hand is that you needed to, or you had to, watch these videos here. I mean, sequence 1, 2, 3, and 4, and ask these questions. Sorry? Wait. I'm going to silence you all, right? And then if you need to talk, you just unmute your phone, your mic. So the idea is, after watching these videos, I want you to, let's discuss all together this idea of what is the teacher teaching? What content from the curriculum design can you identify? What is the role of the teacher? What is the role of the students? How do the students feel and why, right? What view of language does the teacher hold, and what approach or method can you identify? How many can you recognize in the sequence? That means how many of the methods that you read last week, right, can you identify here in the sequence? All right, so tell me who can start, right? What do you think? Let's take the first sequence. Do you remember this first sequence? Yes, what was it about? Just make a brief summary and tell me.
The teacher is teaching how the different uses of electricity in our lives now.
Okay, right. Good, good, Mariana, good. What else? But I'm going to start picking on your brain, Mariana. The idea is that you said that she's teaching the different uses of electricity. So yes. Is this a physics class or is it a language class?
No, it's a language class. I think.
She's teaching
or maybe both. It's like a mix.
Okay. So it's a language class, but she's teaching the uses of electricity. No. Okay.
No, it's.
This is a topic.
Maybe she's working in a collaborative work.
Put up your hands. Teacher. Put up your hands. I like this. I like this. Put up your hands. Sorry. So that's what Mariana said. Who else?
The topic is electricity. The theme, not the what is teaching.
Okay. But what else?
Maybe that it's from another subject of school. It's a school content.
Yes, I said the same as Vero. Maybe she's working a cross-curricular job with another teacher. Maybe.
Okay. All right. Good.
Linked contents.
Yes.
But there is a kind of conclusion.
Sorry, Noelia?
there is a kind of focus on saving electricity at the end of the teaching sequence. So it's like everything that they learned was in order to make an awareness and how to say
Yes.
Saving
Save awareness.
electricity.
Okay. Okay, very good. To save electricity, all right, to help students raise awareness of the importance of electricity nowadays, right? But again, the focus, you are telling me that the focus is on teaching the kind of uses of electricity and saving electricity, and be aware that electricity is very important nowadays. And what about language? Is it a language class?
I think yes, it is a language class because they are communicating each other.
Okay, with
the
each
teacher.
other. Okay, with each
Yes.
other. Or
they interact with teacher and interact with, between students.
Okay,
Yes,
among
they are
language and context.
All right.
Yes, they are.
And the teacher gives the students some kind of vocabulary, specific vocabulary.
Okay. Right.
Yes, they are using and learning vocabulary. That's why I think it's a language, because the teachers and the teacher and the students speak English all the time.
Okay, good.
It's because they need to use the language, so it's in context.
Okay,
Language.
they need to use the language. They are using the language. Yes, Mariana?
And it's all, I don't know how to say. I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay, you know what? When we are having this kind of discussions, it's very important that you take a folder or a piece of paper, pen and paper, and then you start writing everything that comes across your mind, okay? So then you don't forget, all right? Good. And I also, as what Sol said, is that the teacher perhaps is working with another teacher and working cross-curricularly, right? Perhaps with a teacher that is in charge of, I don't know, physics or the natural sciences, right? Because these are little kids, aren't they? Right? We are talking about little kids, right? So this is natural sciences. And the English teacher is working with the natural science teacher. Oh, the both together, perhaps, we don't know. Very good. Yes, Anaí?
Sorry. Perhaps she is teaching how to work in groups.
Okay, all right.
More than language, or perhaps, I don't know, but perhaps she's trying to say, okay, as we work in group, in this group of teachers, you can work in groups, so you can work collaboratively.
Collaboratively, yes. Okay. All right.
This came to my mind.
Okay, that's very good, right? That's another aspect to take into account.
She's encouraging the students to work alone, to investigate from themselves. They look for information, they compare.
Okay.
They share personal experiences.
Okay.
At home.
That's it. Very good, people. Very good, right? So
yes, it's wonderful because they are working with the cost and waste of their own electricity of their homes. That's it, and that's wonderful. It's in context.
Yeah, that's like
the teacher is learning. It's teaching the language in context.
Okay, language in context.
It is meaningful for them.
All right.
Yes.
It's authentic material.
Okay. I mean, working with authentic material, meaningfully for students, collaboratively, and what is being taught here is not just language. Language is being taught, right? Because they are using a lot of lexical and grammatical linguistic exponents, right? Or lexico-grammatical exponents, right? Then we are going to make a list of which exponents. But then remember, just give me a sec that I try to find the right screen to share with you. Here it is. Do you remember this? We discussed this several weeks ago. Remember?
Yes.
Okay.
I remember.
Okay. This is content. So whenever we need to answer the question, what is the teacher teaching? We need to think about this. Content. What is the content? Well, the content is this interplay among contexts, linguistic exponents, functions, and tasks. Everything. So the answer to the question, what is the teacher teaching, is this melange, if you want to say, right? This interplay. So we can't say the teacher is teaching vocabulary about electricity, or the teacher is teaching only the uses of electricity. I mean, the teacher is paying attention to all these elements, and these elements are interrelated, right? Because remember what I said before, some other classes, the what and the how go together. We can't separate them, all right? So what is the context? Well, the context in this case is the school, right? They are talking about electricity, right? Thinking about the school, but also, this also applies to their homes, to children's home. So it's meaningful, all right? So do you remember, sorry, I don't know if I have it here, no. Here, right? Do you remember these? These are some of the contexts that the formal curriculum design provided, some of the contexts. So we have, that is, contextos de la vida cotidiana y escolar, contextos de los contenidos escolares. So if we are talking, I mean, as some of you said, Belén said, well, the topic is electricity, right? And the topic is without one of these contexts. That could be mi familia, mi hogar. Mi hogar, ¿qué pasa con mi hogar, right? What happens with electricity? How do I use electricity every single day? So that is, I mean, routine. When we talk about the routines, remember that, or if we think about the course books, right? All the course
Or maybe
books.
el cuidado del medio ambiente.
Okay, that's it, right? El cuidado del medio ambiente. Very good, right? So whenever we need to discuss those contexts, okay, there they are. Then what about the linguistic exponents? Or let's go to the tasks. What are the tasks that students have to carry out in that teaching sequence? What do they do? Really do? What do students do?
At first, they have to watch the video.
Okay, they should watch
That's the
video.
first thing.
Okay, what else? They should watch video. What else?
They played a memory game.
Okay,
Some
very good.
flashcards.
Very good.
With the question have got.
Okay, right.
That's
okay, okay, wait a minute. It says with the question have got, that means that they are paying attention to some linguistic exponents, right? They have got, all right?
Yes.
But the task is to play a game. All right? So the task is to play a game, and practicing using a linguistic exponents. You see how the task and the linguistic exponents are together within a context, right? And what are they practicing as regards language in that task, in that game? Well, they are following instructions, for example. And that is a function of language, to read instructions or to listen to instructions and to follow instructions. This is a function of language, all right? What other tasks are presented there in that teaching sequence?
They need to classify the electric devices according to the electric power, if it is light, heating, Yeah.
Very good, Natalia. Very good, Natalia. And in order to classify those devices according to these categories, right? I mean, the task, right, is to classify. That's what they are doing. They are classifying what? Electrical devices according to different categories. For that, they need a specific language. And so what is that specific language? Well, let's see what the linguistic exponents are that they need to use, right? And why they classify, what is the function of language that they are using? Well, they are describing, they are not narrating, they are describing, they are selecting. All right? Is this clear, people?
Anna, sorry, just one question.
Yeah, sure.
Can we use more than one context in the same class?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
It is okay. It is not a mix for children.
No. I mean, we need to be clear, right? Let's see. Can you think of an example, Melina?
Yes, maybe in this sequence, you start working with your home, your house. I don't remember how it says the context. And then you move to cuidado del medio ambiente.
Perfect. Because at home and at school, you need to take care of the environment.
Okay, they don't have to be separated like this. Is
definitely. And I mean, people, everything is a whole, right? Everything is a whole. We need to think about our teaching sequences holistically, right? So we can't, I mean, we don't teach this idea, I mean, and this goes with what we believe as regards language.
Oh, but that's because I don't like doing that. Well, this is something and the other thing is another. I don't like that.
Okay, Belly, what we need to take, but
we have to be clear.
Yeah, what we need to take into account is one thing is the plan, and in the plan we need to be very careful. And we said this teaching sequence is going to take into account the context from the home, the school, or whatever, and the context that has to do with the I don't know, taking care of the environment. All right, so we need to explain it. All right, and then of course, for didactic purpose, for pedagogical purpose, and for the teacher who's going, the teacher, the coordinator, the director of the school, or whoever needs to understand what you are going to do with the kids. So you need to be very clear when you plan your classes. So when you plan your classes, first of all, you think of the context. And then you think of the tasks. What are the tasks that are related to those contexts? And then you think of language. What do they have to do with the language? Doing things with the language. Remember that you learned the language by doing things with the language. You don't learn the language by repeating 1, 2, 3, or this is blue, yellow, green. I mean, you're learning nothing there. You learn by doing. So kids learn the language by doing things with the language. Like, for example, playing a game. Okay? When kids play a game, they are doing things with the language. So you pay attention to context, to tasks, to what they do, the functions of the language, and then the linguistic exponents. That means, what is the language that is needed for kids to carry out that task? It's not the other way around. Hoy tengo que enseñar el presente simple. Entonces empezamos a forzar los contenidos. A ver, ¿qué pueden hacer? No, it's the other way around. So this has to do with what you believe language is. If you believe that language is a sum of forms, of word categories, of course, the only thing that you're going to do is to teach vocabulary and grammar structures or whatever. And so the kids are going to repeat issues. They're going to repeat, okay? But if you believe that language is a way of communicating, of doing things with the language, you're going to be working with meaning. And this is what happens in these 4 sequences. Okay, so there are only 10 minutes left for this class. In order to sum up, the answer to the question, what is the teacher teaching, should be this interplay, right? So you need to analyze the teaching sequences according to this interplay. Contexts, tasks, functions of the language, and linguistic exponents, all right? Remember that we were discussing the other day, if we are dealing with, I don't know, you want kids, the topic, you are working with a natural science teacher and you're working with the idea of that kids need to eat healthily. And so you start working with healthy food and the food pyramid and all that. So one of the classes is to work with recipes, right? How to make a healthy cake or whatever. So if we are working with recipe, so you start thinking of the linguistic exponents that are needed to talk about a recipe or to carry out, right, to really make a cake. Okay, like following instructions, reading a list, and of course, the list is a list of nouns in the recipe. Okay, so you are working with nouns. There you're working with vocabulary. You see that everything is articulated. You can't say, today I'm going to be teaching nouns, colors. The topic of today is colors. Ajá. ¿Y qué hacemos con los colores? ¿Qué les enseñamos a los chicos de los colores? ¿Para qué sirven los colores? So let's try to find a context for that. You want to teach colors. Okay, let's teach colors. So, questions, people?
Yes, I have one question.
Okay.
When reading the curricular design, there is a part that says in the chart, contenidos, modos de conocer, tasks, and indicadores de avance. Indicadores de avance would be the functions?
No. Indicadores de avance is what issues or what characteristics you are going to pay attention to realize that these students are incorporating the language, that they are doing things with language.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, Noelia, we are going to discuss that in the future. Okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But we are going to discuss that. Good, but good question. So think about it. All right. Okay. Now, the other issue, wait. Are you still with me? Yes. The other issue is, or the other question here was, well, what content from the curriculum design can you, what about, for example, this one, do you remember sequence 4? I think it's this one. Do you remember what happens here in sequence 4?
They have to protect the egg.
Okay, they have to protect the egg. All right.
Problem solving.
Okay, very good. Very good. This is problem solving. Kids have a problem and they need to solve it. But the teacher is not telling them how to solve it. So what's the teacher teaching here?
Maybe teamwork, because they have to work together to think about a plan and put it into work. Good,
very good, right. As you can see, most, all the sequences, they have this idea of working together, working collaboratively. Not all the students do the same, okay? Not all the students do the same, but they are exposed to language, right? They interact, right? in different ways with the same objective. Okay, good. Any other?
Maybe with the title, it says trial and error. You can learn about that. You can make mistakes and you can improve them, or you can learn about that mistake. So I think it's wonderful.
Okay, that's it. Have you ever imagined that your language class might look like this? Well, so you need to start thinking and imagining this way, people, right? Because now our normality, what we thought it was normal at school, it is no longer normal, right? So we need to start working collaboratively, working with other teachers, right? Thinking about different groups of students. So we need to start opening our minds, right? Broadening our ideas, all right? Okay, there is something, right? Are you writing your report? Yes, okay.
Yes.
Please include your reports in your e-portfolio, right? Then I'm going to check these instructions. And instead of here it says you might want to work collaboratively on a GDoc, no, it's write your reports on your e-portfolio. And then I need to open a new Padlet that I forgot, right? Because here this link takes you to the Padlet from last year, right? And I want you to do it to upload your 5 minutes video maximum, right? In a new Padlet, okay? So,
Anna, sorry,
yes.
I uploaded there, and many of my classmates also. Shall I delete it or?
Okay, no, don't delete anything. I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I saw all last year videos. That's why.
Because they are all at the end.
Yeah, that's right. When I saw Santis and Sergio, whatever, so I said, oh, this is the last year.
Go down.
No, great, perfect, perfect. So here, okay, I see yours here. Perfect, people. Tonight, I'm going to be watching you, right? And your productions here. Pretty good. Okay, so as to round off, I will be uploading new material, right, and new tasks for you to carry out during these weeks, right? And we are going to meet, so next week is the 9th, right? We only have 45 minutes. So I'm going to try to make the most of it. We are going to be working with interactions and the idea of discourse, right? Because one of the things that we need to kind of understand and incorporate is that our task as teachers of English is to help students create discourse, right? Now, what is discourse? Do you remember the definition, the homemade definition of discourse?
Language in context.
Language in context. Helping students to create discourse, that means helping students to use language in context. All right? Yes? Good. And then I'm going to suggest the reading of 1 or 2 chapters. All right? So whatever doubts you have, write it down and we'll discuss this next Wednesday. Wednesday next week. Okay, people?
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you. Bye.